Hey everybody. Decisions were clearly made by AMD in the pandemic where they stopped caring completely about consumers. And that's what this card is, and that's where this comes from. This is a 6500 XT, 4GB. This is a laptop chip that AMD butchered themselves and put into a desktop form factor. 4GB of Samsung GDDR6, no video encoder, 4 PCIe lanes, 2 display outs, and that's that. All stapled together with a 64-bit bus. So it's as tragic as you might imagine it to be. And I apologize for my voice ahead of time here. I'm still a little bit under the weather, but hopefully recovering. Here's the hash rate list, though. Boy, it took forever to get this thing working. I had to use a very specific set of OpenCL drivers in Hive, as well as the beta version of Hive, just to get it mining. The earlier version would see the card, but it wouldn't mine, and then the beta version of Hive would actually start the miner, but there was no hash rate. So manually updating the OpenCL in the beta to 5.6.1 did work for me. Anyway, that's when this was gathered. But you can see the Flux results. I spent, of course, a lot of time on there just sort of learning the limits of the card. And this card is very wonky. So the memory clock will not set below 1050, which is really high. It's really, really high frequency. So you're not going to get the best efficiency on core algos because of that. And it also doesn't seem to like core clocks below 1400 megahertz or above 2200, which is a little bit strange because like the game clock on these cards is like 2.1 to 2.3 gigahertz. I digress. It does seem like, though, on the mixed algos, it does seem to really like the top core clock, which is 2200. And I tried with the voltages. I brought it down as much as I could. The SoC frequency and VDD max doesn't seem to matter too much, and I didn't really try to pull that down. You probably can get away with 950, but if you leave it blank, you're going to get pretty similar efficiency numbers here. So anyway, Flux, we figured out 0.278 efficiency with LOL miner. Mini Z was better. I'm going to call that orange, 0.36. So more power, but a lot more hash rate. LOL miner, though, was reporting a higher pool hash rate, so I don't know how different we actually were looking there. Nexa, really bad, 0.375, 18 mega hash. Again, 0.5 is where I consider to be pretty good. 0.55 is very good. This did 0.375. Dynex, and I actually had to re-figure out the BZ miner beta to get this going, but really good at Dynex. We're looking at 63.4 hash to watt. It's like a 3070's 50 or 55. This thing really slaps. And the hash rate's actually good, too. Like 2.5 kilohash is really respectable. That's about half what you would get out of a CMP50HX for quite a bit less than half the wattage. Actually, less than a third of the wattage. Kyla coin, I don't mine it, but I do have a metric, and it's really bad. It's about 50% worse than it should be. Olefium, really inefficient. Ironfish, Radiant, everything. Carlson actually had the best showing of any core algo, and I don't have a lot of metrics on that yet just because it's such a recent coin, and I've only tested it on like older GPUs, but honestly it's not terrible at Carlson. So if you have one of these kicking around and you really want to spec it, maybe not the worst thing ever. Ergo and ETC hash, the efficiencies are actually okay. 0.76 for Ergo, obviously 1 is considered quite good in my book. Same thing with ETC hash, like 0.5 is really good, but 0.412, that's honestly not bad. That's like a really poorly tuned 30 series. It's just you're dealing with a 64-bit memory bus, so the hash rates are really, really low. Probably not worth it. Kapow, pretty good. Keep in mind the DAG is too big on Raven, so you can't mine Raven with it. I tested this on Meowcoin, but you could do Nurai or Chlor or anything like that. 8.8 mega hash at 54 watts on the PMD. Actually a pretty solid little showing. 0.178. Oh, shoot, that was actually 0.163. So the better efficiency was at 0.178 with the actual slightly lower core clocks. I'm not sure why I had that highlighted, but you get the idea. You can see the data sheet here. If I were to mine with this, I probably would throw it on ProgPow. I'd probably throw it on Nurai or Chlor or Meowcoin and just send it. But I mean, honestly, if you're in the spec mood, Carlson, not terrible. And Dynex, especially with the lack of mainstream AMD miner being like officially announced, honestly, that's, I think, the best like hash rate to efficiency play. So if you like the Dynex project and you have a 6500 XT, I think that's probably where you want to be. So BZ Miner 19, it's a little tricky to set it up. It's not terrible. You just have to manually configure the pool in the miner, set the miner version to 19.0, and you should be good to go. So anyway, that is a brief look at the hash rates of the 6500 XT Sapphire Pulse in December of 2023. Thank you guys all for watching, and I will see you next week.
You know quantum computers. You know blockchain. But do you know both together? Dynex was the first platform to create a neuromorphic supercomputing blockchain-based algorithm which solves real-world problems. And the best part? Anyone can post a job, whether a company from the Global 2000, a machine learning job, or fintech and pharmaceutical. And if you don't want to program it yourself, get an expert directly at the marketplace. Run the job and be impressed by the fast result.